Hello, Professor. My name is Mrinal, and I am doing a demo to show how we can use BurpSuite to find SQL injection vulnerabilities. This is for the course Computer Security. Now, the SQL injection attacks have been used in many high-profile data breaches over the years, and I was listening to this podcast called Darknet Diaries, and there it mentioned that SQL injection vulnerabilities or attacks are apparently one of the most common ones. And they not only target, the infrastructure, but they cause a reputational damage and a financial damage from a regulatory perspective. So this is why I wanted to focus my project on how we can identify this vulnerability, of course, but then also how, as a pen tester, how can you exploit this vulnerability and see what impact does it has. Now, before I get started, I want to start with mentioning what SQL injection is. It's nothing but a web security vulnerability, which essentially allows an attacker to interfere with the queries that an application makes to its database. So this can allow an attacker to view the data. They are not normally able to retrieve as a consumer of this product, for example. Um, so the data that they might want to take with them as part of this vulnerability um, includes variety of things like credit card details, credit card information, your passwords, or your personal information essentially. In many other cases, if they are able to successfully exploit this vulnerability, they might even modify or delete the data or your personal data, causing persistent changes to applications' content or behavior, which could lead to a bigger attack. For example, a denial of service attack. So this is why, as a pen tester, it's pretty important for us to know this vulnerability as well as know how to detect it and know how we can exploit it to see the impact. And Burp Suite is one such tool that can help us do this. And I haven't met a single web pen testing uh, call it a person that hasn't really used this tool. So today, as part of this demo, I will be using it to perform SQL injections, specifically targeting the where clause to retrieve the hidden data. The primary object of this project, again, like I said, is to investigate the SQL injection vulnerability. The plan here is to utilize BurpSuite to act as a middle tool to identify and exploit this vulnerability. And once we are able to successfully do that, we should be able to retrieve the data, uh, you know, that is usually hidden. Now, one thing that I really like about this tool is how versatile this tool can be. So basically it comes in two different editions. So if you have a lot of money, you can have the professional one. If you don't have a lot of money like me, you can use the community version. And the best thing about it is it's pretty compatible with all sorts of mainstream OSs. So for this demo itself, I'm using Kali, which is why you see me selecting Linux 64-bit. And then once I have my community edition selected as well, I can just download it. For the purpose of this video, I won't download this because I already have the Burp Suite. So let's now just open the Burp Suite. For this, I won't update the GRE. And I can just select the temporary project in memory, click next, and then start the Burp Suite. Now, the first thing we see here is a bunch of tabs at the top. For now, let's just focus on the proxy tab because the first thing we need to do is set up a certificate. So the reason why we need to set up the certificate is so that our BurpSuite can act as a middle tool between our browser and our computer. To do that, you have to go to proxy, click on the proxy settings, click on export CA certificate, and then export the file as the DER format. Click next and select the folder where you want to export your certificate. Here I've already exported my certificate. You can name it whatever you want, but make sure that the extension is .der. Now, once you do that, you can close all of this and you can go back to the your browser. Go to this top right, and again, depending on which browser you're using, this may look different. I'm using Mozilla Firefox, so for that, it might look the same. But if you're using Chrome or any other browser, it might look different. But again, you can follow the similar steps. Now, what you can do is you can, in the search bar, you can type in cert and it will show you all the certificates that your browser has. And here we are going to import the certificate we had exported before. So to do that, I'm going to click on import and I'm going to select the certificate that I had exported and then open it. For this purpose, for the purpose of this video, I've already exported and imported the certificate. But once you do that, the next step would be to check that it exists. So let's do that now. It should show under Port Swagger because that's the one who issued the certificate. Oh, we are two down. Okay, there we go. So here we see that we have a certificate. We can view it and we can also see when it was essentially created and when it's not valid. So it's valid until 2035. It's using RSA. We don't care about that for now. So to check that our browser and our BurpSuite has been set up properly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to visit a random website, and to see if I'm able to intercept those requests, I need to be in proxy, and under that I need to be under HTTP history. So in a sec, you'll see why I'm doing this. So when I visit this website, I can see that there's a bunch of requests that are being sent, right? So for us as a viewer, if I were to just visit this website, I wouldn't actually see all of these different requests. So we're requesting images and so on and so forth. Now, as a pen tester, it's also important for me to know why we are seeing these steps, right? So it's not just so that we intercept. There's a reason why we're intercepting these. The first reason is that we can get things like cookie session, right? So as a user, I'm not seeing all of the stuff that's going in the backend. So I can use this cookie to perhaps exploit a session. And then I can also see the platform that's being used. So I can find out the Linux, that the OS in the backend is Linux. Again, as a user, I wouldn't see this information. And then for user agent, if we come back here, we can see the different versions that are also being used in the backend. So again, this is like a little bit of metadata that we can use to again research what vulnerabilities exist for these different versions and how we can exploit that. And BurpSuite is one of the best tools out there to check different responses and requests, HTTP requests and responses. Now, let's actually exploit a vulnerability using the BurpSuite. Let's go back to the website and it's gonna show on our HTTP. Now we're gonna just turn the intercept on. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna show us some of the backend requests that usually go in. So since we're on this website, let's just click on GIFs to see if we can find any information from the request. So we're using this URI. So I'm guessing this is part of a backend database query, because if you remember from our basics of the database courses, usually our queries look something like select star from products where categories equals gifts, for example, right? So I want to see if I can try and exploit something like this. So to do that, perhaps let me see different parts here. Okay, so to do that, we can use the request query parameter and we can see if we can add on to it. So maybe we'll start with some small parameters. So %27, which is going to emulate a space, and then %20, which is going to emulate the space, and then %27, which is going to emulate our quotation, which is usually how we close a where statement or select equals gift statement. And then we're gonna say or the statement that is always true. So we're essentially here trying to trick the database into thinking that category equals when it's always true. So by injecting this malicious input, you close the gifts part early and then add or equals 1 equal 1, a condition that will always be true. This again, like I said, will trick the database into returning all products, not just the ones in the gift categories. And the dash dash comments essentially comments out the rest of the query so it doesn't cause an error. So let's apply these changes and forward it and see if it does anything. Okay, there we go. We were able to exploit this vulnerability and get this hidden data. Essentially shows us all of these products. Now, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to log in or anything. I just had to forward this query. I just had to intercept the query that was going to the browser, change just a little part of the URI, and I was able to see everything. So definitely this browser is vulnerable to SQL injection as we just exploited it. And this is how you can use BurpSuite this way.